Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Sekiro Shadows Die Twice complete walkthrough, and this is episode 16, which I have named Surpassing the Father. And we are venturing further into the alternate version of the Hirata estate, and it's time to wrap this place up. But we are gonna approach this much like we did in the normal version. We are going up on this roof, we are popping a gachin sugar. Because up on these roofs, there are now three ninjas. Three of those purple ninjas. And what you want to do is just go past the first one and sneak up behind the second one and do a death blow so we can move over to the first one. Be quick to death blow the second one. If he gets too close to ninja number one, he will hear you killing his friend. And as soon as they are dead, move over here. Do not get too close to the roof. Like I did. Because you will suffer burn. You will suffer burn damage. And I make the mistakes so you don't have to repeat them. Learn from my mistakes. And as soon as the third ninja guy turns around, that is the last mistake he does in this life. And not much things have changed in this area. We are still gonna take on Juso the Drunkard once again. But the setup is a little bit different. He doesn't have as many friends with him this time, and you also don't have the samurai fella that was standing out in the water. So we are gonna have to take him on single-handedly, but he is no problem at all at this point. We are gonna take him on the same way we have done the other 3 times we have faced off against him. But first we want to kill these guys. You can leave that drunk alive if you want to do a if you want to do a pistol ninjutsu before you take on Juso. But now, instead of having a bunch of soldiers with him, he actually only has 2 archers and a ninja guy. And the archers this time fire poison arrows. So what we want to do is sneak down here, kill this guy, immediately run past the ninja, run past Juso, and take out the other archer. And then we're gonna leave this place. Because we want to lure the ninja guy away from Juso. Juso is big, he's fat, he's hairy, he's drunk. He will not follow you very far. But the ninja, he's small, lean, he's kept up with his training, and he is like a bloodhound. Because you see Juso right there in the background, he thinks like, fuck it, I'll go back and drink my sake. But the ninja, he doesn't let up that easily. He is on my trail. So what I like to do is pop a gachin sugar and sneak in beneath this walkway and hope that he loses aggro. And I actually thought he did. I'm not sure how he is programmed. Because look at this. He faces my direction. He starts walking away. He turns around. And seemingly has de-aggroed. But I realize now fight music was still going. Because I tried to sneak up behind him, he instantly turned around and started swinging. So maybe it is that I hadn't de-aggroed him. Not quite sure. But you can fight him a lot like Lone Shadow Vilehand. You can run around him. Just bait his poison swings because he will be animation locked, so you can go in from mortal draw. But I was pissed. I was not happy that he tricked me, so I thought like, okay, I'm just gonna go super aggressive, grind your ass into the ground, you ugly pajama wearing asshole. And he tried to do the buff to lower his posture, but I wasn't having it. And down he goes. And now all that remains out here is Juso the Drunkard. And by now, we all know how to take on these drunkards. We're gonna sneak up behind him. We are gonna do our free death blow. It's always on sale with these guys. swing for one and get one free. And then we're just gonna run around him, bait and punish his attacks. And I think getting the deathblow marker on Juso can be a little bit finicky. I don't know if it's because he's so tall. Because you need to get almost up inside his ass crack. Poke that fuzz with your nose before the deathblow marker shows up. And I'm not okay with that. But this is standard 1A, how to take down a drunk. Just run around him, wait for those big swings, wait for him to drink his sake, and just punish his ass with Mortal Draw. And you do see he does pack a brutal punch now. But as long as you don't get greedy, and why should you at this point? You know how to do this. You don't even need me telling you how to take him down. Because you have probably become a Sekiro master. And then he falls. And that is the final prayer bead. We now have all 40 of them. And now we're gonna do this somewhat shinobi style, because this house is now jam-packed with enemies and 2 spear guys, and everything is really hard to get through. So what we do is just run past everything. Go in, activate the sculptor's idol. You will probably not be able to rest because they are on your ass, so we just run past them again, try to stay alive and get out of this place. Run away. I like to run behind this little house, and then we are gonna use our homeward idol to teleport back into that sculptor's idol and just bypass all those little enemies and take on Owl once again. This is the second time we face off against him, and he is a lot harder this time. On the Ashina Castle roof he is challenging, but here he has learned a few new tricks, even though this takes place 3 years earlier. But this is actually one of the hardest bosses in the game. And the things you want going into this fight is of course healing items. Feel free to use fine snow, but you don't need any prosthetic tools. And make sure to have the Mortal Draw equipped. And his attacks that you wanna watch out for. He has the double shuriken leading into a front flip, and we all know how to punish that. Just dodge forward and to the side and follow it up with a Mortal Draw. He can throw firecrackers and jump back, and he will follow that up with a thrust. So just punish that with Mikiri and try to do a Mortal Draw afterwards. He has a perilous sweep where you want to jump over it and immediately follow it up with a Mortal Draw. That is gonna be our main means of offense. In phase 2 he gets an owl that he can buff with fire and throw at you. When he does, just jump straight up over the owl and be prepared for the thrusting attack that is coming afterwards. Punish that with Mikiri and try to go for a Mortal Draw. Usually, when you do a Mikiri on this guy, you will not hit. But it's always good to try. And when you go in here the first time, you will get a speaking icon. It didn't trigger for me. But if you don't want to talk to him, you can just immediately do a Mortal Draw, which will soften him up a little bit before you even start the fight. It only works on your first attempt. If you die in this fight, he will instantly aggro when you get into this room. And there are a couple of different ways to take this fight on. Some people would say that you're supposed to be super aggressive and never let up. I like to take a little bit of a more passive approach, let him come to me. And whenever he does the big perilous sweep, I always punish that. And it is... here we go. There we have it. Just jump over the sword. the hitbox is quite lenient, and don't stomp on his head. Just do that at the very second you land was the word I was trying to say, or the sentence I was trying to say. The very second you land, immediately do a mortal draw. You will punish him every time. And if you don't do a mortal draw, make sure to dodge away, because he will do a big overhead swing, and that will hurt a lot. I think he does it to me once in this fight, and it takes off a substantial amount of your health. But the good thing about the mortal draw is that it interrupts any attack the enemy is doing. And in phase 2, or actually I'm gonna wait and talk about that. Let's finish phase 1 before we start talking about phase 2. But you see here, I'm trying to take a semi-passive approach. So now we go into phase 2 and he gets his spirit owl, and that owl will fly around this arena and try to distract you. Sometimes you will see him disappear like that. He has merged with the owl and will fly around and try to land on you. And when he disappears and goes up into the owl, just run around the arena, because you will dodge his falling attack, or whatever you want to call it, every time. So just run away, wait for him to jump out of the owl and go back into combat. And this phase is very similar to phase 1. The only new addition is that, and also that it throws the owl at you. But this fight, as I said, is considered to be one of the absolute hardest fights in the entire game, and I would agree that it is. But I think, in my opinion, it is absolutely my favorite boss fight in the game as well. The first time I played for this game, there is no other boss in this game that I have died to as many times as I did with the owl in this fight, not the Ashina Castle one. I think I died in between 20 to 25 times. And then suddenly something happened, something just clicked, and the first time I beat him, I think he managed to hit me once. Because it was one of those moments where everything just comes together and I had learned the fight. And I think it's something about the rhythm, the mechanics and everything. I just think this fight is super fun. And the entire setup, 2 shinobi masters, or master and apprentice, duking it out in a burning building. This is like the final fight of a shinobi movie, where it turns out the father has been playing you all along and you duke it out to see who is the greatest, and you want to restore glory and honor and whatever. Beautiful setup. And this is the first time taking him on since like months that I took him on. Because when I did my practice run, I went in here because I was doing notes, I was running through the entire game. I went in here once just to get a feel for the boss again. And I came in, I was playing a bit sloppily, I had done quite a long gaming session, and he killed me instantly. I just got wrecked. But when I did my recording, I went in here because I have died to a few bosses in this game during my recording on purpose, just to be sure that I would get their perilous sweep, so I could do those slow motion sequences that you have seen before a lot of these bosses. And I wanted to make sure that I got into phase 2. And when I got into phase 2, I wasn't planning on beating the boss actually. But I got so far into phase 2 without even thinking about it. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go on. See if I can beat him first try, after having not faced off against him in months. And here you see the proof that dying to him 25 times have forever etched this boss into my muscle memory. It's not a super clean fight. For it to be a super clean fight, I would have 10 healing gourds left. I only have 2. Because he is hard, but he is beatable. And also, he drops the aromatic flower that we need to get the purification ending. And now we have done the setup to get all 3 endings that remain. So what remains now of the main game is actually just the final boss that we're gonna take on in the next episode. So I wanna thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.